Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Bricks King podcast, where I'm going to bend your ear about Lego, review those amazing bricks of plastic, and discuss what is new and up and coming around the Lego world. I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it. Welcome in all you people from around the globe. Stepping into 2024, I'm sure you're enjoying. Hopefully you didn't go overboard with the celebration. I can only imagine that some woke up and were not feeling the greatest. However, we are here to hopefully take that away if you are dealing with that at this point in time. And we are talking about the new Lego Ninjago 2024 wave. I intentionally sat on this to wait for the new year. Even though I was fortunate enough to receive these early from the Lego group, I appreciate it. I just kind of wanted to share them for the 2024 wave. So here we go. We have a bunch of new sets, which are great. We have new pieces. We have new suit. Well, we don't have new suits. We have new helmets, masks, head masks, whatever you want to call them for the ninja. And then we have some more bad guys, which are always important for your ninja to be able to fight at the end of the day. So the first three that I'm going to talk about are pretty much identical. The builds are identical. The only difference is color. So we're going to bust through these just because these are the action feature, the $10 set, that you get. And it's just meant to be either like a flyer, or what we saw with last year's wave was, you had the Dragon Core balls and they kind of rotated around. It is what it is. We get these with every wave. I understand why they're in there. So the first one up that we have is Kai's Rising Dragon Strike 71801. It is a $10 set. It has 24 pieces, and there's not a whole lot to it. The best thing about this is we do get a new head mold, which is actually really nice for this dragon. And it is smallish than some of the others that we have gotten in the past with stuff like this. However, I will not be surprised to see these being used in a wave in the future or something in Lego Dreams. I can imagine that is coming at some point in time, because for the most part, they usually don't just make one part specific to just a single theme. There's got to be some kind of crossover to a certain degree. However, so you do have that. You have these dual molded wings, which are really nice, the red and the orange here because it's Kai. And then there is a new handle piece here that acts as the action feature or the swoosh ability if you want to fly this thing around. Your ninjas in this wave look okay. They don't look bad. Like I said, the only new part about them is their little head hat, whatever you want to call it, head mask, helmet in this case. So those are the only things that are new. We do have a new bad guy here. So these new bad guys, this is a wolf guard guy, and they've got that darker blue color, some decent print and stuff like that. This one has where did we see these? I think we saw these with the black ghosts in Harry Potter. My goodness, I can't think of what those things are called now. The Dementors, maybe. That kind of sash, helmet, hood idea, I guess more like a hood. Anyway, so the big thing that I wanted to discuss, there are two things here, and they're centric with every single one of these. First off, inside of the head of the dragon, inside the mouth, if you will, there is another one of those little orb balls, the dragon orbs that they used in the series. So that is nice. You have that in there. It makes it look like there are, trans eyes in there. There are not. And then the last part about this that I found interesting was the handle to be able to fly this thing around. That is actually your action feature function, whatever you want to call it. And what you do is this thing sits flat on the floor. You tuck your ninja in there at the back of this build, and then you smack down on the back of this thing, and it goes flying across the table, the floor, wherever you're using it. It only has 20-ish pieces in it. All of them only have 20-ish pieces in it. So it's not like there's a whole lot there. It's not really going to be something that is going to go flying apart. The wings are clipped into place, the head. I mean, everything is pretty basic and simple, but however, I think it's okay. It's not horrible. $10 price point, you get what you get for something like this. So there it is. So the other two, Nia's Rising Dragon Strike, which is 71802, and Aaron's Rising Dragon Strike, which is 71803. They are identical. The colors are the only thing that is different. With Nia, you have a blue and a trans blue that is dual molded. And then for Aaron, you have that goldish color with the kind of the neon green trans that is implemented in there as well. So nothing really wild and crazy. The only difference is with the bad guys, the wolf guys here, they actually have a dual molded head, like an actual minifig head piece. It's not a mask that goes over top of it. It is a new, a new mold, I guess you could say. So I do like those. The one with Nia comes with little saber claws, and then the other one comes with some kind of weird looking sword, a rounded sword. So you do have those. So not horrible, but again, with certain waves, you know what you're getting, and it's not the end of the world when you have those little things. So up next on deck, we have Aaron's Battle Mech 71804, and it retails for $16 or 15 euros. It has 104 pieces. This thing is kind of interesting for a 4+ set. This is not meant to be that set that you have for an adult or an older kid. This is that set in the wave that is targeted to that young kid. But I gotta admit, for a 4+ set, there's an interesting little idea going on here as far as the build goes. So the main focus, obviously, is Aaron's mech. At this point, we already know that. We already know that with these kind of builds, you're going to have big chunky plastic pieces. We have that there with the solid molded leg, the solid molded elbow pieces. Much of the torso is solid. Obviously, it does come open to allow him to get inside of his mech. He does have a little weapons rack for his swords to store them. But he has a giant sword in one hand that gets clipped in, and then he has a spinning blade on the other. Same thing that we've seen for years now with this kind of price point, with this kind of set for this kind of age. So nothing to be really overly dramatic about or super excited about. But again, you got to have something in the wave, especially for a kid that is watching Ninjago. It just has to be. But it also, I talked to my wife about this a number of times. You have kids with developmental delays or disabilities, and they want to be able to play with their peers, or they want to be able to play like their peers. And this is a great opportunity to be able to jump into something like that, because what you have is you have something that is more approachable to a kid that may not have the best fine motor control, a kid that may have, tremors or of the sorts. There are all kinds of different things. And working in education and my wife working in home health, you don't realize how much of those things are out there until you're in it, until you're engrossed in it. And you see it day in and day out. You see these sweet kids that have these delays or these disabilities that were not put upon them by anyone in specific, that they didn't ask for, but they just want to be able to play like a kid. And that's where I'm very appreciative of a set like this, and even some of the others in the wave, because they are more modular in the sense that they can be moved and mix and matched. And I know that's something that Niak had said they were looking at doing. I think it was probably about a year and a half ago when we had an interview with him, when they originally started coming out with the Ninjago wave that didn't have a story behind it, right? It didn't have, if you recall, it didn't have the cartoon series behind it at that point. It was something completely fabricated by Lego for a kid to be able to put its own story together versus having to watch the show and play based off of the show, which some kids do, some kids don't. But at the same time, it's nice to be able to see in this wave, which we'll find out here, that you do have that opportunity to be able to take one build, mix it with another build, get a completely different build, but still retain the similarities of the original build, if that makes sense. You'll see what I'm talking about. However, so that is the mech. Aaron is your little warrior, your little ninja here. We've already talked about him. He comes the same as the original set that we had already discussed with his little flyer. We have the Wolf Mask Warrior. I totally forgot what his name was when I brought it up earlier. I had to go pull it back up. The Wolf Mask Warrior. So he is he's your little wolf character in this build with his little sword. And he comes with this little flyer, and his flyer is kind of fascinating to me just due to the sheer fact that with a 4+ set, you usually don't often get much of a bad guy build. Sometimes you get a little bit more than you would with, well, a little bit more than maybe just a generic 4+ set, but there's usually only like a side build, your bad guy, and then your mech, your good guy. You usually don't get a side build and then a flyer. So I'm appreciative for that reason to be able to get it in this wave, in this set for kids. That's all you just need to stay within your head for me. And the thing is, you guys are varied ages, very, very different stages of life than what I am. You may know somebody. I know my sister, and my brother with my nephew. When he was younger, let's say, I don't know, he's what, 12-ish, 11-ish now, 7 years ago, this would have been a great set for him, because he has his bad guy. He has his good guy. He has this other thing that they're fighting over, and boom, there you go. Anyway, so the flyer is really simple. It's very bulky. It is a tile shooter. It is a disc shooter, whatever you want to call it, the 2x2 round tile that you can shoot. So that's just a thumb press, finger press, whatever, finger flick, whatever you want to call it, to be able to get it out of there. The wings, though, actually can go up and down. It doesn't look like any really conventional flyer that you would expect, so just keep that in the back of your mind. It does have a spear, though, on each side on the exterior of the flyer, on the outside of the wing, so that's kind of neat looking. But you can either stand him there or you can sit them there. That is completely up to you. But you do have him to be able to fly around and shoot and defend his little area. And what he is defending here is his little build that he's got going on. Their little shrine here that they have. And you have just a basic little plant piece here. And then you have this rock piece that is used to guard a hammer inside, believe it or not. Weird build, I know, right? But this comes in that sparkly purple. And I'm trying to, I just blew some of your minds right now, right? Trying to figure out my colors better and better and better. I mean, I really should. I work on a team with an art teacher. I think she would be absolutely, disgusted, disappointed with me not knowing all these weird random colors like sparkly purple. Anyway, so that rock piece is that. We also have a crystal that is in that color as well. So this hammer that is behind this rock piece is meant to be hidden because it is used, or can be used, I guess, to hit this little shield that is above it, above the arch here. And that shield we have seen before. It is not new. It is printed though. And it is apparently some sort of gong. So that has to do with Raz. And we saw Raz in the last wave. When was that? Over the summer. So that is potentially, that's going to send shockwaves through whatever based on using this hammer. So I think that is kind of fun, kind of unique in its own right. So it's a nice little build for, what is it? For the $15-$16. It's not bad. Again, price compared to is based on a lot of things. But when you're talking about these giant leg pieces, these giant arm pieces, these giant, all these, that is what you're paying for. So next up we have Jay's Mech Battle Pack. Man, some of these titles they give these sets, I go back and I probably re-record saying them 3 or 4 times depending. The very, very first one we did at the beginning of the show, I must have gone through 5 different times. I just could not get it to say what I kept saying rising dragon because it was going Kai and I was thinking raise. I don't know. Anyway, it was wild. Anyway, So what we have here, 71805 is the set number. It is a $10 set. It has 78 pieces. Again, super tiny, nothing wild and crazy that is going on here. You do have another mech build. You do have 2 bad guys. You also have Master Lloyd. So this is the first opportunity where we are getting an opportunity yet again to collect minifigs. Ninjago is not known for really doing battle packs. Star Wars is known for doing battle packs. Lego City was known for doing people packs for years. I don't think they really do those anymore. They were like little city builders, town builders. But it's nice to see Ninjago finally jump into something like that and be able to incorporate it into a wave. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So starting with our mech, because that is essentially the most important thing in this build, in this wave, we've got a nice little mech here. You've got ball joints that are used for pretty much everything. And there are no locked knees, believe it or not, because it is a very, very tiny mech in comparison to what we have seen in the past and even in this wave. So down on the feet, down here, standard kind of mech building idea that is going on. You have ball joints down here at the ankles. You have ball joints that are here at the hips. We've got some swivel that is here in the at the torso. There are ball joints for the shoulders. We've got ball joints down here at the wrists as well. And that is where your weaponry comes into play. You have 2 disc shooters here, tile shooters, whatever, the 1x1s. We have 2 of those here on the left hand of the mech, and on the right hand, we have our little spear/sword that we have going on here with that big giant piece that is sticking out the end. We also have a 2x2 tile here that is printed, which is pretty nice to be included in something like this. And that is essentially the main part of this. So the front does fold down. You can get your minifig in there, Jay in this case, and put Jay into his mech, tighten him back up, and then you can stick his swords to the rear of the mech, as there are clips to be able to hold those into place, which is, if you know anything, it is something that I have wanted for years and years and years. And when they started doing it, probably a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I was just blown away by it. And I'm so glad that they're doing it to this point in time, and they continue to do it for not just Ninjago, but other waves as well. So let's talk about minifigs here. What we have what are just on offer, not what we have to offer, what Lego has to offer you. And we have our Wolf Mask Claw Warrior, which is, we have already seen. This is your Wolf Mask Warrior guy that has his, and the thing is, their sculpt of the head of this is actually supposed to look like they have a mask over the head, which is kind of cute. I like the way that is done. However, you know, you've got the pauldrons and stuff here for this guy as well. And obviously his claws, which are super important because they are, you know, scary looking. He looks like something that you should see on Halloween night. But the print is exactly the same as the other ones. Nothing new or crazy or wild. Obviously it's exclusive to this wave. So you've got to have your bad guy army to build up. And then we also have the Wolf Mask Guard, which we saw initially in the very first one with his little hood that he's got hanging up over his head. And I went back and I was looking at him, and I think this is probably a new sculpt for this piece. I think that might be the case. Anyway, so moving on to our 2 ninja. We have Jay, which is always important to be able to get all your ninja in a wave. So this is the first time in this wave we are seeing Jay, which is great. Jay has that new headpiece, helmet piece, whatever you want to call it, the headpiece that we have, the little helmet, and his is in the blue and the dark blue, so that is kind of nice. And then the one thing that I am a giant fan of is in this entire wave is how they have done the printing on the ninja. You know, you've got their little boots, the little area around their knees and stuff like that, the high ankle, whatever you want to call it. And then in general, the printing on the suits just feels more solid. Not solid as in the print coming across is better, like the ink transfer. Just the design of the suit print, it just feels more robust. It feels like there's much more depth than there have been in many, many years past. So I'm greatly appreciative of that. So I figured I would call that out here. because they're all the same as far as the print goes. There's only a few differences, obviously, with the letter of their name and of course, the little belt, their little waist belt and stuff like that. So it's really nice. So moving along, we have our first look at the new Master Lloyd, and Master Lloyd's in his white robe. It's creepy. It's cool looking, but my God, it is so creepy. So he comes with his little head hair piece there, with his green band. Of course, this is standard for him. Comes with his little golden sword, but his printing is very interesting just due to the sheer fact that we are seeing him in white with green and gold printing on the white. It was something that was completely unexpected, in my opinion. I love it. I think it's great. He's got the sides of the robe that are hanging down below his waist. He's got his green belt and stuff like that. I'm a big fan of this print. There's something incredible about it. I don't specifically know what it is that I'm in love with, but my God, there's something about his colors being in the white sensei master, whatever you want to call it, suit that I'm just a big fan of. And then of course you have, just like all the ninja, I forgot to mention Jay, and then the other ninjas as well. They have the dual faces where they have their kind of powered up mech face, and then they have their normal face. In this case, Lloyd only has a smiling face and then a kind of a really kind of look to his face. So there is that. So there's 5 of them. Pretty good waves so far. I mean, I can't really complain about any of these. There are things that, you may look at and you think, well, I'm not the biggest fan of this, or I'm not the biggest fan of that. And you don't need to be. Ninjago is its own world, just like Star Wars is its own world, just like any theme is its own world. The only difference comes with, where do you really want to enjoy your time? Do you want to enjoy it with something super big? Do you have time to build something super big? Do you have time to build something small? Are you somebody that wants to be a wave collector? Are you somebody that just wants one of the big main sets from a theme each year or whatever? And that's what I'm talking about. Where you want to spend your time, your money, your commitment is completely different for everybody. I am a huge fan of the battle pack being at the price point that it is. Again, we're talking about pretty good figs at a cheap price. As far as Lloyd goes, I mean, this is a big deal, because I'm trying to think off the top of my head here. I'm pretty sure he's not available in this wave anywhere else. So it's nice that they have done this and put it in this pack, because what ends up happening sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes what ends up happening is you end up getting a few figures that are exclusive, and they're price locked in the big sets, which nobody wants. Absolutely nobody wants that. It sucks. It's a horrible feeling, and just nobody wants that, just due to the sheer fact that you have to pay this crazy expensive price to be able to get something which is it's a little excessive, right? It seems a little bit too pricey, a little bit not quite worth what the minifig is, right? So it's nice to be able to get him at this price point. Anyway, so this is going to wrap up the first half of Ninjago. We've got the other one coming after this, and I saved them intentionally because all of them go together, literally together. So we'll save that for its own episode. So until we meet again, I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it.